Here are the top 3 things you need to know right now at 6 o'clock. In the last hour, an agreement was reached to allow Chief Pamela Smith to remain in control of the D.C. Police Department. The Trump administration will continue to work with MPD on an emergency basis to support federal purposes.
Also confirmed today, the Justice Department says the takeover will end unless Congress extend the emergency, despite the president signaling otherwise.
Now, last night, federal agents and D.C. police officers arrested 33 people. 15 are reportedly undocumented, though it's unclear if that was the reason for their arrests.
Tonight, we've got live team coverage from neighborhoods across the city. First, Rafael Sanchez Cruz is live outside the D.C. District Building to discuss today's ruling. And Rafa, Attorney General Brian Schwab called this a huge win for D.C. home rule.
That's right, Leslie. The deliberation between the attorneys in his office and the attorneys representing the Trump administration took over an hour and a half. They were able to come to an agreement without Judge Anna Reyes having to issue that temporary restraining order as Attorney General Brian Schwab wanted. But we learned a lot during this hearing. We learned that the executive order that was issued last night by U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi was in response to Police Chief Pam Smith. Yesterday, D.C. Chief Smith herself issued an order that established limited cooperation between her officers and immigration officials. She essentially allowed her officers to work more closely with immigration officials by providing them with additional information and even transportation. What we learned today from the attorneys representing the Trump administration is that the White House wants full cooperation. They want D.C. police to help them with their immigration enforcement. Chief Smith's executive order did not allow for that. Now, D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwab says he hopes he doesn't have to be back here in federal court over this issue, but also vowed to keep fighting if President Donald Trump overreaches again. Let's listen.
Look, all we can do as local officials elected and accountable to the residents of the District of Columbia is to stand up for home rule in our law. Even the President of the United States, even the Attorney General of the United States needs to comply with the law. And the Home Rule Charter and the Home Rule Act is very clear with respect to when the President can request limited services of MPD, limited by time, limited by emergency circumstances, and limited for federal purposes. And in all cases, those services must be requested to the mayor to be provided by the chief of police, not a hostile takeover of our police. And if it means standing up to the president, standing up to the attorney general to ensure that the laws of our country are followed, we will do that.
Now, Judge Reyes said today that based on her interpretation of home rule, she doesn't see why President Donald Trump can't ask Mayor Muriel Bowser to use D.C. police officers to work alongside ICE and really continue the immigration enforcement here in the district. But this is not the end regarding this D.C. takeover. Next week, they're expecting to address other 2 issues because there are pending questions. Those 2 questions are, what is the emergency for the federal takeover, and is this takeover really serving the purpose of the federal government? Again, just important to note how much immigration is playing a factor as we move forward during the next couple of days with the D.C. takeover. I'm live outside the courthouse. I'm Rafael Sanchez Cruz. Back to you.
Yeah, Rafa, you're giving us some really key information there, connecting the dots a bit about how we went from cooperation, everything's going as good as it can, to a potential hostile takeover, and understanding more about the limited cooperation that Chief Smith was trying to put in place, how that may have led to what ended up happening today.
Also